Right guys, today we're going to do about the circulatory system. We're going to put all that knowledge together that we've learned over the last few weeks and build it all up so we understand the whole system and how it all works together. So before we do that today, what I really want to do is just work on your prior knowledge and do a bit of a revision and recap from previous lessons. All right, so just have a look at those boards, just start to refresh your minds on stuff that we've been through so far. Here, what I'm going to be coming and asking you questions about is the structure of the heart. And over here is the structure and the function of the three different blood vessels that we've worked on so far. So all I'm going to do is ask you to give me 1 point to start with from the heart, any part of the structure that you can remember. Okay? All right, start me off. Could you tell me what this chamber is here?
The left atrium.
Is she right?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, Shadia. So if this is a left atrium, that makes this...
Right atrium.
Okay, you happy with that?
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. Right, Amy, the left ventricle has a larger cardiac muscle than the right ventricle. Why does it need more muscle?
Because it needs to pump the blood all around the body.
Superb. Okay, so we will come on to this when we go on to the next section, but that left ventricle has a much larger role in terms of the degree of blood it has to pump out around the body. Okay, so that makes this one, Laura?
The right ventricle.
You're happy with that, Ellen?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we've got your atriums at the top, the ventricles at the bottom. Now we're going to get a little bit more difficult. All right, so from what we did the other week, Ellie, we have got the different valves.
Yeah.
Can you name any of the valves on there for me?
Bicuspid valve.
So the bicuspid valve is between which two chambers?
The left atrium and the left ventricle.
Is she right?
Yeah.
She is. Okay, so between the left atrium and the left ventricle, we have the bicuspid valve. Okay, Shadia, can you name me another valve?
The tricuspid valve.
Tricuspid valve, where will we find that?
Between the right atrium and the right ventricle.
Spot on here. Brilliant, well done. So we have that tricuspid valve. Amy?
Aortic valve.
The aortic valve. Where's the aortic valve? Which
Comes
chamber?
out the left ventricle.
Comes out the left ventricle, right here. That little cheeky valve's kicking out there, and that leaves us with?
The pulmonary valve.
She right?
Cava.
She right? Pulmonary valve? I'm just teasing you. Yeah, it is. All right, it's a pulmonary valve. Well done. Okay, that confused look at you, didn't it? So the pulmonary valve, which goes out from which chamber was this?
The right ventricle.
Well done. Okay, so we've got the right ventricle. So, quickly going to have some quick fire questions on veins, arteries and capillaries. Tell me one thing you can remember about the structure of any of those, Ellie.
The capillaries is the smallest.
Super. How thin are their walls? Can you remember?
I'm not sure, but it's because the blood is going at a low pressure through them, so if it was high pressure it would break the walls.
Superb. What benefit does it have having very, very thin walls? How thin are they?
One cell.
They're one cell thick. What can happen through those walls?
Nutrients and oxygen can go through the wall, so it can go to different parts of the body.
Brilliant. What do we call that?
Diffusion.
So that is called diffusion. Yeah, so make a note of that. So that's diffusion. Brilliant. Shadi, can you tell me anything about any of those?
The arteries have very thick walls.
The arteries have very, very thick walls. Why? Can you remember?
Is it to help the blood flow?
It does help blood flow. You're right. It does help blood flow. What does it help us deal with? Can you remember?
Blood clots.
Strong pressure.
Not quite blood. I suppose in a technical way it could do, but it's not its primary function. What do you say, Laura?
High blood pressure.
So it lets us deal with the high blood pressure that's within it. Without those thick muscular walls, what would happen? If we had high pressure pushing through and we didn't have those thick muscular... Yeah? Explodes. Brilliant. Okay, so, can you tell me something about veins?
They have valves.
They have valves. What do they prevent?
The blood flowing down. Again, so it helps the blood flow up.
Okay, so rather than down, because it's not always down, see from the brain it's not down.
It like helps blood go back to the heart instead of going away from the heart.
So it prevents, can I remember this, begins with a B? Backflow, well done Shadi, yeah. So backflow, so it's not up or down, we think of it going backwards and forwards through that, okay, but good, very well done. So, we've got a little bit of information about all of them. I'll put the rest of the recap on there, alright, which we've been through last week. So, but you've got the general gist about all of those different aspects. Now, what we have to do is start putting all that together and understand how it's all interconnected. If you look at this here, once blood leaves the heart, it goes off in all different directions around the body. You can see arteries and veins going out through the lungs, up through the neck, down through the legs, down to the major organs. We have to understand how that all interconnects, and that's the purpose of today's session. All right? So we're going to look at, combined, how all that makes the circulatory system. If we're looking at the circulatory system, we have to understand the names of the different arteries and veins that flow around your body and create the interconnections from the heart to the different body organs. So, the first blood vessel we'll look at is the aorta. The aorta is attached to the left ventricle and delivers blood out all around the body. Once it's delivered blood around the body, we then have to get back into the heart, and we will do that through a vein. And this vein is called the superior or inferior vena cava. Superior meaning above the heart. So if you look here, this one coming down here is a superior vena cava. This one coming up is the inferior vena cava. Inferior meaning below heart, superior above the heart. Once that has delivered the deoxygenated blood into the heart, we then have to get the blood back to the lungs so we can oxygenate it again. So once it's pumped out of the right ventricle, it'll flow up through a pulmonary artery and into the lungs. And that's the basic structure. Because once we've got it to the lungs and we can oxygenate it again, we then will come back through the pulmonary vein. Okay? So the cycle just keeps on going and going and going. Now this is the circulatory system in its most simplistic form. All right? So we need to learn this so it's off by heart, because when it comes to the exam, it's important that you can at any point put yourself in the part of this body, whether that be a pulmonary vein or an aorta. Think about what the contents of the blood is within you, and then understand where you're going and what's going to happen next. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do a little bit of a short exercise to hopefully drill that into your head so you can understand it. So this is the circulatory system as we have on the board there. But what we've done is we've injected all the different aspects of the heart into this as well. So we're doing revision as we're learning. You are going to start from wherever you are on the board right now. And you will join as a blood cell. So your job is to flow through this system, dropping off and picking up. So dropping off oxygen, picking up carbon dioxide, dropping off carbon dioxide, picking up oxygen at the different parts of the body. That's what we're going to look to do. So if you're in the lungs, you will have, at this point, you will have picked up oxygen. You'll become deoxygenated. We then flow through the pulmonary vein and down into the left atrium. The bicuspid valve opens and we drop down into the left ventricle. Now from the left ventricle, we are then pumped out and forced out through the aortic valve and through the aorta. And it's at that point we go around the body. Now once we reach the body, we are then going to drop off our oxygen, pick up carbon dioxide, and then begin our journey back to the heart. So it's then we'll go through the vena cava, either the superior or inferior, depending where we are, and we'll flow back up towards the right atrium. Through the right atrium, we'll go through the tricuspid valve and into the right ventricle. Once that right ventricle forces us out and pumps us through the pulmonary valve, we'll go out through the pulmonary artery and back to the lungs. Guys, in 5 minutes time, you will be able to do that and walk through it, no problem whatsoever. Okay? I have complete faith in you. So, what you're going to do to start with is you'll join in with your partner. You are going to talk them through. We're just going to start off nice and easy. You are just going to tell them where you are, where you're going, and where you're going after that. So we're looking 3 steps of the ladder is all I want you to be able to do to start with. All right? Now, if you feel confident, you can keep talking, by all means. So jump into and become a blood cell if you could for me, please. And you come. So, I'd like you now to start walking and follow that path with me. Off you go. Start flowing around the body. as you go in, just remind yourself of the different names. Start running through with it in your head. Where am I? Where am I going next? And stop. So, number ones, so you can turn to each other, right? Number ones, please tell number twos where you are, where you're going, and where you're going after that. Off you go.
So I'm at the Vena Cava,
And I've just headed to oxygenated blood from deoxygenated. So I will then go through the pulmonary vein, which will go to the left atrium, go through the bicuspid valve into the left ventricle.
Okay, stop there. Good stuff. You did 4 there. It's no problem. You keep going if you can. All right, so next time, so I'll tell you what, because we're at different points. Number twos, you tell your partners where you are, where you're going, and where you're going after that.
So I'm in the right atrium, and then I'm going to move through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle, and then from the right ventricle I'm going to go through the pulmonary valve into the pulmonary artery.
Okay. Okay, so you've had a few times round now. So what we're going to do is have a go at going as far around as you can, but I'm going to set you a challenge. This time I want to close your eyes, look down, all right, no cheating, no peeking, and I want you to try and talk the whole way around from where you are. So, Laura, you're in the body systems. You have just dropped off your oxygen, you've picked up your carbon dioxide. Where are you going next?
So from the body systems, I'm going to go through the inferior or superior vena cava, depending on where I am, into the right atrium, and then I'm going to go through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle, and then from the right ventricle I'm going to go through the pulmonary valve into the pulmonary artery, and then that'll take me up to the lungs, and then from the lungs I'm going to come through the pulmonary vein into the left atrium, and then from the left atrium I'm going to go through a bicuspid valve into the left ventricle. From the left ventricle I'm going to go through an aortic valve into the aorta, and then I'm back to where I started.
Woo! Cheeky round of applause. Well done, superb. All right, so next time you're going to do it with your eyes closed because I saw you peeking. Hey. All right, guys, so hopefully through doing this you start to get an idea of that flow, and it'll allow you to start picking up on questions in the exam, and instead of just trying to remember words or just individual pieces of information, you remember it as a picture, and that often will give you a much better source of memory, especially if you can envisage yourself in there and envisage that basically flow chart of information. You will be fine when you come to a question on that. So just to do this final recap, what I would like you to do is just quickly grab your notes, grab a pen, and can you draw that for me? All right, have a go at quickly drawing that. Right, brilliant today, guys. It's not an easy subject to grasp, but you've all seemed to have done a fantastic job. Make sure you keep those diagrams and keep practicing those diagrams. When you're in that exam, it's fine, just in the corner of that page, just quickly doodle that circulatory system, because you may get questions, and we will look at these in next week's session. You may get questions which relate to, oh, you're in the aorta. Are you carrying deoxygenated or oxygenated blood? It might ask the aorta, which part of the heart is that connected to? And it just gives you a visual representation. So rather than just having to rack your brains and remember your individual terms, you've got that picture to work off. All right, guys? You've done a fantastic job. Thank you very much. Okay, and I will see you next week.